Welcome to Suffolk Matters, where all of Suffolk County meets the men and women of Suffolk AME. News, opinions, and insights you won't hear anywhere else. Here's your host, the president of New York's largest independent union, Suffolk AME's Dan Levler.
Welcome to another edition of Suffolk Matters on Walk 97.5 and 94.3 The Shark, where Suffolk County meets the men and women of Suffolk AME. News and views you can't hear anywhere else. So my guest this morning is Nick Caracappa, president of the Utility Workers Union of America, Local 393, and candidate for Suffolk's 4th Legislative District. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Dan. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming down. I know things are very busy for you right now, as they are for all of us, but, on top of everything else, president of a local, running for office, so, carving out the time, we appreciate it. And I just want to start out a little bit, have folks get to know you, and talk about your background. Specifically, president of Local 393, what motivated you to get involved? What do your workers do? Just give us some background information there.
Absolutely. Well, my motivation, several factors in that going back to, holiday dinners when I was a kid. I come from a family background of labor leaders. My Uncle Sal Brazzi was president of Local 3 in the city. My father, my cousins, all labor guys, and it was interesting as a child when they got into these conversations. Everybody else would leave and go into the TV room, whatever. I felt that it was interesting. I used to listen to them, so that always resonated with me about being involved and representing members, and that and being on lines and rallying. I found it interesting, and then fast forward. Getting involved with the Utility Workers Union, I started off small. I started off with a shop steward. I found that to be exceptional. Rewarding. Being able to fight the wrongs, and it was a learning process. That graduated to an executive trustee position on the board, going back to '96, I believe. Wow. And then politics. I lost my election. I ran for vice president. I lost. I wasn't no longer involved. Directly, indirectly, yes. I always remained involved. And then 2006 rolls around. We're our union, our local, without a contract for about 18 months. And I got a call from one of the board members. Of course, he felt there was going to be they were going to step down the existing board and the president back then. They were just going to walk away. And it is what it is. I went to the meeting. I heard what was said. We're being told we have no leverage, we have no backbone. What are we going to do? We got to take what they offer, and I saw it totally different.
Right.
We can't strike where we are. We're under the tail of the law. Right. And to be told by your mediator and those around you saying we have no leverage, well, and then I look at it this way. We're employees. Yeah, they're our bosses, and they got an executive board. The executive board gets appointed by the Suffolk County Legislature. And who do they work for?
Work for the people.
That's right. They work for the people, and we are the people.
Yep.
So I was motivated to get involved. Like I said, everybody left. My members got behind me in 2006, and knock wood, we've been doing some great things. My men and women in the workforce, their response has been terrific. They know when they got to rally. They know when they got to stand united. And we get things done, and that's because I have the great people of Local 393 behind me. Like any union leader, without your membership, without your soldiers, without the best interest of their families and futures, nothing gets done. So I'm very proud to say that they've been behind me since 2006.
Absolutely. And unions, at its core concept, not everybody has a union job, and people are aware of unions and the concept, but I find that, people that haven't been in unions, they have a different thought and idea of what unions are. Unions really are a collective of workers that band together for mutual aid and protection, right? We want to look after ourselves and make sure that we're able to do our job safely, that we're fairly compensated, that we're able to put back into the community that we're a part of through fair wages, and so, when you talk about your leadership position there and talk about having the support of your membership, you get the support of your membership by doing that exact job, banding all of your workforce together for mutual aid and protection. not by going back to them and saying we can't get things done. There's no way for us, to work out X issue. So, I get it. And there's a lot of labor leaders that I find that have a similar story in a way. And that is, they saw what was going on. They knew it could get done better. And, myself as an example, I said, if I think I can help and I don't try to help, then I have no right to complain. And I love to complain. So I'm going to try,
right.
And that's how I got myself involved, every step of the way. So, and that's great. The folks at 393 really do a phenomenal job in keeping the service going. Everybody relies on, water for so many reasons. But, at the end of the day, if you have no water coming into your building, you have no fire suppression. Therefore, you have no CO. Your members really do deliver so much to the community from the simple things every day, washing a piece of fruit, taking a shower, cleaning the dishes, whatever, like the normal, what you would think of usage. But the fact of the matter is you're allowed to go into a building because there's water there.
Right on. A lot of people don't even realize what goes into it. Every time you turn the faucet, that water's there. You tend to overlook just how it got there and the process that it goes through, everything from distribution to treating that water, and making sure it's there every time you turn the tap. We're coming into the winter months, and the winter months bring the largest contention of main breaks, water main breaks. They freeze, and the old, with the infrastructure that was built years ago, my men and women, they respond in the middle of the night. They get out of bed, they leave their homes, they leave their families, they jump into these holes, frozen ground, frozen water. They make those repairs before you even get out of bed in the morning. You wouldn't even know it. You get out of bed at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. My men and women have worked through the night in sub-freezing temperatures to make sure those services are there for you when you need them.
Yeah, that's it's a valid point. And I have a background in sewers for public works for Suffolk County, and a utility like that is like a utility like water. You shouldn't have to think about it. You should turn on the faucet and it's there. And when you're done using the water that you used, it should go down the sewer system and just be gone. And that's a testament to your members and the job that they do. The fact that you don't have to think about water. There's parts of the world where getting a bucket of water is really that's something you got to plan for. And here on Long Island in Suffolk County, hit the faucet, you're getting clean, safe water. So
yes, you will.
In addition to your work over at 393. You've got some history with lobbying on behalf of your membership there also. So it's not just maybe sitting down with management to talk things through, but you've got to get involved in some of the political issues as well. Talking behind the scenes, getting to know the processes, the way business is done inside of government, and the way elected officials think. I guess in that regard, I'm sure you have a fair amount to add.
Well, I'm not going to comment on how elected officials think because they,
sometimes you wonder.
Right, but for the most part, I would hope that everybody's doing their part to do the right thing. But as far as lobbying goes, yeah, we've done a great amount of lobbying on all levels. We're a national, local Utility Workers Union of America is a national organization representing 52,000 members across this great nation and into Canada. And I also sat on that national board, an executive board member, for a few years, and I had the privilege of going to Washington and sitting with some congressmen and, let them know what we need in the labor force. Everything, working conditions and the safety conditions. And we, working in the field of water, electric, gas, wastewater, it's tragic, but we lose many members a year. Gas explosions just not too long ago in New York City, Local 1-2, electrical stuff, and we lose our members. So safety in the workplace is paramount. We are first responders. We're there when there's natural disasters. We're there when there's fires in buildings. We're the ones shutting down the water and electric for the firemen or the police to get into those buildings. So lobbying with local officials on the local level here in Suffolk County, we've done that. We've lobbied with the state levels. We've done that. And the federal levels, because it's all too important these days to keep those working conditions, keeping those jobs, those wages in our areas. Listen, let's face it, when we talk about union jobs, the wages and everything goes with those wages. That helps our communities. It helps our residents, helps our families, helps our communities in many ways.
And you know what? It helps non-union folks as well, right? So when you talk about lobbying, whether it's local, state, or federal, unions are that rising tide that lifts all boats, right? You don't go in and say union workers must have this protection. You say workers must have this protection. Now, it is the union, the banding together of all these people that helps finance and train and focus those energies to get this job done. But when all is said and done, it's being done for workers everywhere.
And that's a very valid point. I'm glad you brought that up. I say union workers because I am a labor guy, but you're 100% right there when you say that. Fortunately, a lot of the labor institutions, organizations have the resources to be able to go up and do this lobbying. And we lobby for all. You're right. It's not just local labor. It's for all working for citizens out there on every level. So when they hear us come in, we do exactly what you just said. The workforce needs this. We need that. We need better protections. We need better working conditions, and that transcends down to our community at large. So, yeah, that's a great point there.
Yeah. And to what extent, it was so far removed from the days where labor made certain big pushes that, everybody just assumes when they get a job, hey, I'm going to have weekends. You didn't used to have weekends.
That's right.
Labor brought that to you.
That's right.
Breaks, coffee breaks, you didn't have that stuff.
8-hour days.
8-hour days, these job protections. A lot of the things that happened on the federal level that built in, minimum wage, salary protections, overtime protections, child labor laws, like all of this stuff, it was all through labor organizations.
Minimum wage as well.
Yeah.
We fought for all of it. Being an at-will employee, look, I'm not knocking it at all. I actually sympathize sometimes when someone's telling you, what times you have to work, what hours you have to work, what your wages are going to be, and you really don't have a voice. You go in there and make your point. You try and sell yourself as best you can, but in the end, it's up to your employer. Bottom line. So yeah, we feel labor in the labor movement these past few years and going back way before any of us were even a thought has definitely helped build the foundation and the structure that has helped families have family time, like you mentioned, the weekends, coming home, eating dinner with your families. And in cases that you do have to work those extra hours, hey, look, there's premium time involved with that as well for the most part. And that's on every level as well. So, yeah, you're 100% right. I stand by that. I'm proud of the work that we do. I'm proud of what we're able to bring to the table and bring back to our communities as far as being able to have that time with your families and being compensated for your services.
Yeah, and not a lot of people realize as well, when you go sometimes with cheaper labor, that cheaper labor is imported from somewhere else. You can make the case for, overseas, the various tech companies that offload their helplines to overseas countries to save money. And so that revenue goes into the economy somewhere else. But even when you're talking local jobs, when you bring in sometimes outside non-union companies from another state, they pay their workers less, their workers have less protections, and then they drive off with the money. And it doesn't stay here with us. It doesn't get invested. It doesn't hire somebody to repair a fence, paint a house, cover basic, bills. That's one of the reasons why we're always pushing for local jobs is to keep the revenue circulating within our economy.
It definitely all works together in sync. It's cyclical. So it drives me a little nutty when you see, and I see it personally, when you see trucks in from Ohio, and I'm talking about non-emergency situations, okay? So when you have contractors in from Ohio and Michigan and Virginia and Texas, and, they're doing their job, and a lot of times it's not the best job, and they try getting the back here to repair the small things. That doesn't happen. We have to do that. It's dangerous at times, shoddy work at times, but the most important thing is touching on what you just mentioned. When those wages leave this state, they're getting redistributed in their communities, in their counties. Their pizzerias, their mom and pops, and then that tax revenue, those sales tax revenues go back into their counties and local government, not ours. So we got to work together. We got to give it a better shot to number one, let's employ our people here in Suffolk County. There's a lot of people that are willing, that need to work, need to have those jobs. We can provide that. All right? Let's give a first choice to our Suffolk County residents. And then let them bring those wages home. Let them increase their savings. Let them go out and go to the malls and go, like I said, to the pizzerias and the restaurants and the bowling alleys and every other. And that's sustainable. You know, when you get, and then we see those sales tax receipts come back to local government and eases the burdens of our tax base. It's all sustainable. And that's what we call it, a sustainable community, because everybody's working, everybody's spending, the county's receiving, the towns are receiving, and it just works. It works together. It's collective, and I like that word, collective. I say that a lot. So.
Yes. It's social justice, right? So,
Yeah.
Recently I was at an event and I got to hear you speak, and you're running now for Suffolk County Legislature in the 4th District, and you're addressing a room full of people, business leaders, labor leaders, supporters in general, just a group of people that know you, know the kind of person you are, the passion that you've poured into your life, and your commitment to serving something bigger than yourself and your own interests, your community-minded involvement. But one of the things that really stood out to me as you were talking that night is, we have to protect our local businesses and the people that work there. And that gets missed, I feel, too often. When people talk about protecting business, you're not just protecting the ability of a particular store or business to stay open, but you're also protecting the local economy by keeping people employed, gainfully employed, fairly compensated, and safely, working. And I think that kind of illustrates, for me at least, the kind of advocate you would be on the Suffolk County Legislature. But, what motivated you, just to step in now and get to work for the 4th District?
Well, now at this point in time, I had always wanted to do this, and I'm following kind of a lineage. My mother served in the legislature through the 80s and mid-90s before she passed. My brother succeeded her and served his full term there. I supported my good friend Tom Moratori to succeed into that position, and unfortunately, he recently passed away. It was a tremendous loss for our community, not just for what he provided as far as services, but as a friend and a good leader in our community. So the spot was open and it had to be filled. It was an opportunity, and I'm not an opportunist. I'm a realist, and I said, hey, look, this is my shot to get in there and do some good work for some very good people and Suffolk County as a whole. It's a risk for me, but I think it's a calculated risk, and it's a risk that I'm gonna, hopefully look back on and say, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I took the leap. I'm involved in my community now. I always have been. I'm involved in the PTAs and the civics. I sat on the school board for 7 years. Vice president of my Little League for 15 years, coaching both my sons, now making that transition into softball, which is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and to be honest with you. So if anybody had to go through that, and we should start a council group together. But in reality, it's the time is right in every aspect, and I'm going to carry on the good work of everyone who came before me, and that's going to be my job now, and I'm looking forward to doing it.
Seeing you speak, getting out in front of people, and sharing from the heart. I kind of know you as a guy that isn't big on reading scripts, so to speak. When you talk to a crowd, you tell them what's on your mind, to see the reaction of people, sitting there, getting who it is you are and what your commitment is going to be for this district. I think that speaks volumes within your district. When the election's all said and done, I guess I'm maybe getting ahead of myself, but you live in the district, and I
love my district. I've been there. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Selden, and I'm actually living in the house I grew up in. After my mom passed, I bought it, and I'm raising my family there. So I am committed not only to, and listen, this is the 4th LD, so many people know me in Selden and Center Reach because of the work I've done in Selden and Center Reach. But I want everybody in the 4th LD, every area I cover, which is parts of Farmingville, Holtzville, Ronkonkoma, Coram, they're going to have a voice. I'm going to be at your civics. I'm going to be at your local events. You're going to get to know me. I'm going to get to know you and the diverse issues that we all are facing. And we're going to work together as a whole, and we're going to get work done. I love my community. I love where I live. I love being involved in it. So, and one thing I'm committed to is keeping the streets of our community safe by protecting law enforcement. I see the officers in the school and on our streets, in our courts. Everywhere you look, people take it for granted. That law enforcement is there, but they're there for a reason. They're there for a purpose, and they've been doing such great work, protecting us and serving us, putting their lives on the line. I will commit to keeping our community safe by supporting those who do that, and that's all aspects of law enforcement. So I stand committed with my community who feel their safety may be at risk going forward. They hear the discussions, they hear the topics about cutting the police. Can't happen. It just can't happen.
Well, listen, that's part of the county workforce, right? All these various aspects of law enforcement, and the functions that they provide and the way that they provide it is the reasons we don't have some of the issues that you see in some other parts of the country. Well-trained, dedicated individuals that are literally, and again, my members are support staff in all these departments. The dedication goes across. When we speak about labor in Suffolk County, we're not just talking about AME. We're talking about all the unions, and that altruism flows out. These are people who chose as their profession to give their lives to benefit other people. That's what they're doing day in and day out.
100%.
So we stand with labor across the board, and when you're talking about public safety, that matters to everyone here. Like I say, the reason we're not facing certain issues that other parts of the country are facing is because of the professionalism and dedication that we see from across county government services.
Well, listen, we're talking. I'm not talking about law enforcement here. I'm talking about all essential services. How important they are. The seniors, the veterans, the children, those essential services. Many of them, your members provide a lot of those essential services. And look what happened through this pandemic, how many of your members responded and were on the front lines. And without those services, where would we be today? Our numbers are low because of the services your members provided. And many working class families across this county, and no matter what they did, from the store clerks, they were there. I see teenage kids working through the whole pandemic, packing bags in the grocery markets. That's a credit. It's a testament to them and their families with their work ethics. Vital services. People depend on them. They can't live without them. And people like us, Dan, our members provide those services. We've got to protect not only the essential services, we got to protect those who provide those services. Because without those people providing those services and bringing those services forward, the people who depend on them and need them are not going to receive those services. So it all works hand in hand. We mentioned it. Keeping the work here in Suffolk County, keeping the wages here in Suffolk County, putting the wages back into the small business here in Suffolk County, and getting those tax dollars back into Suffolk County so we can, again, hire more people, not lay off people, get more work out there, get the essential services out there. It's cyclical. It's simple. It's a tough road ahead of us. It's no secret about the fiscal shape the county is in. That's a no-brainer, but it can be fixed. And that's the message we need to put out there. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's not going to be easy. But if you give us a goal, you set something down in front of New Yorkers where it's been proved how resilient we really are time and time again. Give us an A and a B, where we got to start, where we got to finish. And at that finish line, you give us a ray of hope, something that's going to improve our families and our qualities of life. We will tighten our belts. We will get together. We will rally, and we will make it happen as long as there is a ray of hope and some truth. Tell us the truth. How long is this going to take? Okay, we can do that. We can work together and do it. And don't tell me we can't, because I've seen it done before.
Absolutely. You are not wrong across the board. and getting into like COVID and what happened with COVID and people stepping up and stepping in, and then also we had that aspect of I guess the way I want to say it is the things that we wanted to do we may not have done because there was a shutdown, but the things that we needed to do, we did those things because workers, knowing the risk to not just themselves but to their family and their support community, still showed up and did their jobs, right? So if you needed food, you could get food. Maybe you couldn't sit at your favorite restaurant to get that food, but you were able to eat. All essential services kept going.
Absolutely. And you must have really been listening to me the night when you heard me speak, because you heard me say wants and needs, I don't know, about 30 or 40 times, I think. But that's what I say, and it's the truth. You got to separate the wants from the needs. Look, we all want. I wanted as a kid a lot of things, but I always had everything I needed. So I really didn't know what I wanted. I needed. I needed for nothing. My family, my kids, believe me, they want a lot. You know what? But they always have what they need, and above and beyond. I guess that's the goal. We'll provide more to them than we had as kids. But wants and needs, if we can just identify the needs and focus on the needs first, the true needs of our residents, the true needs of our families, we focus on that, we put our attention to that, we separate the wants, then we work for it, just like, I do with my family. If there's something I want, I work for it, I save for it, and then I go get it, and I earned it, and I feel good about that. So we have to sort of take a good look at that. The miscellaneous spendings. I know every elected official wants to bring better things in their community. I want to. Believe me, I have a list of things I would love to see done. But I got to protect the vital services. I got to protect the needs of the people of Suffolk County and within the 4th LD. So that I'm committed to. Providing the needs, working on the wants.
Absolutely. And getting to that, public works is a concept that was created in a down economy to take people that were out of work and give them something meaningful that they could build for society, and paying them to do so that they had the economic wherewithal to put money back into their community, stimulate the economy. COVID had its fiscal impact, and I do want to get into that in a little bit, but I think one of the main ways to realize recovery is to start doing some of these projects, fixing roads, bridges, getting some infrastructure in place. There is a ton of Suffolk County that's not sewered that should be sewered, right? There are areas of existing utilities that need maintenance and getting people out of their homes because the economy did what it did, putting them on a job and getting things done. Specifically the work that betters our communities and paying them fairly and keeping them safe while they're doing that. I mean, that's something, when you talk about wants and needs for your district, I think to some extent, if there's going to be that infrastructure buildup, that's something your district's going to need.
Without question. We have aging infrastructure all through Suffolk County. And, there's some officials in place that are doing a good job in doing that. We just had a lot of roadways paved in our community through the highway superintendent, and he's doing a great job. But it's tough. We can't. You see it all the time. People are like, what about my street? What about my area? What about my lighting? What about our electric lines? And every time there's a windstorm, power goes out. It all has to be replaced. But again, we're doing the best we can. We can do better. We will do better. Keeping families here on Long Island is probably, one of the biggest things we have to have that discussion on how we can get creative and generate more of that revenue, whether it's lobbying for more of our tax dollars back, and that's a big thing. I'm sure we're going to get into that in a minute. But, just think about buying a home here on Long Island. Just the fees alone to refinance or purchase a home, those fees have gone up so much. It deters people from even beginning to look at it. So there are so many aspects, and just in the short amount of weeks, jumping into this election, I've heard it. I hear from everywhere. My oldest son, Joseph, relocated to North Carolina. He's getting a better shot at a better life, and he's making lower wages, but the cost of living and the taxes down there, it was just easier for him. Plus, we had family down there, so that helped. But I have 4 more children here. On Long Island and Suffolk County, 3 still in school, and I want to keep them here. So believe me, whatever I got to do to keep them here, to help out the other families going through the same exact thing I'm going to go through, we're going to work together. We're going to find an answer to that.
You know, and I just want to, again, you know, we keep referencing back to the event when you were speaking the other day. And just another aspect of what you talked about was, you know, sometimes it's how we say it, right? We're not asking, per se, for the federal government to come save us. We're not asking for, quote-unquote, a bailout. We need a refund. $29 billion a year we give to the federal government from the state of New York that we don't see returned to us. Yep. That's you know, asking for some of that money not to go to the federal government and be retained in the state of New York. That's not a bailout. That's a refund, right? Not,
exactly.
You know.
Wow, you are very attentive, and you know I stand with a good friend of mine that I've been working with closely, Assemblyman Doug Smith. He has really got his finger on the pulse of what's going on with that, and when he ran those numbers, you know, again, I can go back to my time on the school board with our fair share of state dollars. 60% of our school taxes going upstate New York City, and 40% remains here. That's a burden for us. We shouldn't have that. And when you talk about closer to $29 billion in federal money going, not coming back to us, well, listen, I call that a refund. Doug Smith called it a refund. I always have. I'm on board with it. I'm willing to fight for it. It's not a bailout. You know, let's just face it. You know, that whole thing in the paper with the county executive office asking for that federal aid. Don't hide behind it being part of the COVID bailout. We received money for that. All right, and you just can't cover up fiscal mismanagement by bailouts. You just got to be honest and say, look, we're in a crisis here. We're in a fiscal crisis, and all we're asking for is very simple. Give back to our communities what we've given tenfold. The burden should not be on our residents to school everybody and then pay and get infrastructure and things done elsewhere across this country. We need it done. We need it here, and the numbers don't lie. You know, get us back in the black. Put those in office that will absolutely do the right thing to run this county in fiscally sound manner. We have those candidates running right now. You know, and I support what Minority Leader Legislator Tom Silmy said. It's way too premature to even consider layoffs of the magnitude he's talking. Let's concentrate more on getting what we deserve here, protecting our workers. You know, let's not cover it up. I said it earlier. Let's tell the truth, and let's rally the troops. Let's get our members. You know, and we talked about this recently, you and I. The middle class families nationally, we're the largest voting contingency across America, right? But yet no one's got our agendas on the top of their lists. The incredibly rich and the incredibly poor, no problem. They're protected. They got everybody fighting for them and whatever. But why? If we're the largest contingency of voters, why do we let a handful of people dictate our quality of life, our working conditions, what we get and what we don't get? If we rally everybody together by telling them the truth, tell them what we're fighting for, tell them the goals that we're looking to get, we can make a difference, folks. Get out and vote November 3rd. It's crucial to the future of our county and the future of our country. We can make a difference, folks, but you got to elect the candidates that are, hey, I'm going to say it, labor-friendly, middle-class friendly, all right, workforce friendly, and dedicated to making a difference and getting back what we need here to sustain our communities.
Well said. Very well said. So my guest this morning, Nick Caracappa, president of the Utility Workers Union of America, Local 393, and candidate for Suffolk's 4th Legislative District. Thank you for joining us this morning, Nick.
Dan, I couldn't appreciate it more. Thank you for your time, and get out to vote, everybody. Union strong.
And to our listeners, we'll speak to you next week. We'll speak to you next week. We'll speak to you next week. We'll speak to you next week.